Hey, good morning, everybody. Scott Luton, Karin Bursa, and Jamin with you here on today's live stream here at Supply Chain Now. Karin, Jamin, how we doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you guys.
Great. I'm very stoked to be with both of you.
Yeah, Jamin, we are too. And Karin, great to see everybody here. We're going to learn, at least I am going to learn a lot more about digital transformation from some of the folks that know, some of the leading experts. And we've wrangled at least two here today. So we look forward to that. All about digital transformation. So before we get started, an audience welcome. Looks like we've already got Kivon is dialed in via LinkedIn. Mayor is also dialed in via LinkedIn. Great to have you here. Get ready and buckle up for a full session. Jeff, the supply chain is the business. Miller is here. Great to have you. And then Aaron, Aaron Freed. Hey, we got your note you sent in, and holy cow, good stuff. I'll be reaching back out. We'll get you scheduled for one of our Veteran Voice series. So stay tuned for that. Okay. So Jamin, let's start with you. When you hear the phrase digital transformation, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I'm one of those annoying people that when you ask me what something is, I immediately think of what it is not. And so what I think it is not is just simply taking old processes or the same old processes and trying to shoehorn them into a digital world. It's truly that transformation part of the word and really making change throughout all corners of the business, including with ourselves and our mindsets, and bringing it up to speed with the new tools we have.
Love it. All right. So Karin, I'm going to ask you the same question, but really quick, want to welcome in Muhammad and Sylvia Judy down there in Charleston, South Carolina. Great to have you both. And to our audience, I want y'all to answer the same question. Put it in the comments. What do y'all think of immediately when you hear the phrase digital transformation? Okay, Karin, what's your take?
All right, digital transformation. So I agree with you, Jamin. It is a step change. We're not just speeding up old business practices. We are changing in a transformational way. The first thing that comes to mind is a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, right? So we are something different on the with the outcome. And in simplest terms, I think of really replacing risky inventory, risky business practices with new insights and accelerated information.
Outstanding. Holy cow.
I love that. Can I go last next time, Scott?
Yeah. Hey, quick side note, as I went and shared our LinkedIn feed of this, we just surpassed 19,000 community members on our LinkedIn company page. So great. As we talked about a lot, the North Star here is that community involvement and getting feedback from the audience here. So, okay, let's recognize a few folks before we bring in Kevin L. Jackson, one of the foremost thought leaders in the world of digital transformation. Praveen is tuned in via LinkedIn. Great to have you, Praveen. Daria, hey, how you doing? Great to have you here via LinkedIn as well. And Jenny Froome, the one and only, is tuned in via YouTube. She is a leader of the SAPIX organization, which is doing great work in her neck of the woods. Great to have you here, Jenny. Aditya, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. Great to have you here via LinkedIn. And Jeff is answering the question too. So Jeff shares digital transformation is doing something new, creating and using a new business capability that is driven and enabled by technology. Love that, Jeff. Okay, so y'all as excited as we are about this guest we've got today?
Very excited.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you? How much, Jamin?
Oh, we're redlining. We're trying to hit 11 if it was possible.
All right. So one last comment. So if you enjoyed today's live stream, be sure to check out our podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Search for Supply Chain Now and subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. Okay. So let's welcome in with no further ado our wonderful featured guest and repeat guest here today, Kevin L. Jackson, COO at Source Connect and author, get this, of a #1 ranked Amazon bestseller, Click to Transform.
Hey guys.
Kevin, good afternoon. How you doing?
I am doing great. I love that swoosh.
You know, we do too. It's all about the little things in life, right?
Right, exactly.
But we've
Whatever
really
can make you smile.
That's right. And we all need good news and lots of smiles these days. But hey, there's lots of it out there if you look for it. And certainly our collaboration with you has been a lot of good news, a lot of lessons learned. And we're looking forward to sharing some of that with our audience here today. Hey, really quick before we turn over to Jamin, because Jamin's going to help our audience get to know you a little bit better, Kevin. I want to say hello to Stephanie Ness. So Stephanie is part of the Ato Rising team, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but UCBOS, or Stephanie, you have to let us know how to pronounce it. UCBOS, which is a low-code, no-code technology group. And an article I came across via their company page on LinkedIn is going to kind of serve as a great piece of discussion fodder for as folks that aren't as smart on this panel like me can wrap our heads around digital transformation that Kevin and Karin and Jamin are going to help us walk us through. So Stephanie, thanks to you and your team for helping, disseminate great information like that help us provoke these types of discussions. Okay. So Jamin, where do we start?
All right. So Kevin, let's start out. What should people know about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I'm going to have to put some type of sticker on myself, repeat guest. So, but, most people know me from my cloud computing activities and the Certified Cloud Security Professional certification that I helped to create. But before entering the commercial world, I was actually a pilot for the U.S. Navy and an engineer. I worked on low Earth orbit satellites for the Navy. My career actually has included executive positions with J.P. Morgan Chase and IBM and Agility, where I was vice president of cloud solutions. Agility was actually acquired by SAIC. But in 2013, I launched my own company, GC GlobalNet, which is an advanced technology business consultancy that also provides education and digital media services. But late last year, I saw the light, right? And I partnered with the close friend of mine, David Burton from DMSCA, the Diverse Manufacturing Supply Chain Alliance. And we launched Source Connect, which is a blockchain-enabled business-to-business marketplace that's designed to help industries digitize their supply chain operations.
That's fantastic.
That is so far above my pay grade, Jamin. Gosh, all of what he just described. Hey, really quick before you keep driving, Jamin, I want to recognize a few folks in the audience.
Absolutely.
If I can. Pardon the interruption, right? I think that's a show or something. So
TTI.
Keith, representing Michigan right here, home of the Cereal City. That is probably home of Kellogg's. What city is that in Michigan?
Kellogg, right?
Yeah, someone, I'm sure Keith will tell us. I'm forgetting the name of the city in Michigan. All right, great to have you here, Keith. Also want to say hey to Sylvia. So when we posed that question to Jamin about a scale of 1 to 10, Sylvia's answer was she's out of 55.
I love it,
to
Sylvia.
hear from Kevin.
Wow.
Jenny says everyone loves the swoosh. Thanks for that, Jenny. We agree. Sophia, our resident supply chain super analyst, is here. Sophia, loved that
awesome.
piece. Yeah, I love that piece the other day where you were sitting down, I think, with Supply Chain Queen and sharing some of your comments there. So great to have you back here. And finally, Mervin. Mervin says, great to be here after a month or so. Just started his master's in supply chain management. Outstanding. So congratulations there. All right, Jamin, let's keep driving.
All right. Well, Kevin, that is fantastic. Your background, especially how diverse it is. I really enjoy hearing the journey. But those who know me or may not know, I like to really get to know people on a little bit of a different level, ask some of the questions that maybe were not typically asked, right? So I'd like to pose this to you, but also to those in the comments, the audience. I would love to hear your answer to this question. What was your favorite toy to play with as a child growing up?
Well, you're going to embarrass me. Well, growing up in the 60s, it was all about the space race, right? So I was really enamored with space travel and, you know, going to the moon. And I loved it so much that I really got into sort of a hobby of assembling toy rockets and launching them from fields that were close to my house. So I guess I was a bit of a nerd.
No, I don't find that embarrassing at all. That's awesome. Firing off rockets sounds like good fun.
Yeah.
So what do we got? Anything, anyone in the comments here? Let's see. I'm not seeing yet, but again.
Well, one comment we did get is Battle Creek is Cereal City. It was tip of the tongue, but Battle Creek.
Nice. I see AA was a Legos guy. I dig Legos for sure. All right. So yeah, now Kevin, bringing it present day. How do you now, you know, what are some hobbies you have, or how do you blow off some steam when you're not writing best-selling books or sharing your expertise on platforms like this?
Well, you know, right now there's a pre-COVID world, and I did a lot of bowling back in the day, pre-COVID, you know, but now it's more like working out on my elliptical and Netflix.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Especially you combine the two, it could become healthy binging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Kevin, what's your highest score ever bowling?
I had a 298.
Wow.
But my son has like 8 300 rings. So
wow.
He's just, he lives out in Washington State.
Wow.
Love it. Well, you know, what's also really cool, Jamin and Karin, is I always find it really inspirational when your biggest hobby as a kid is what you ended up working on, you know, in part to work with NASA and to work on low orbit satellites. I think that's
I didn't
really
talk
cool.
about that, but I actually got to work on the probe that went to Pluto. That was fun. The New Horizons spacecraft.
All right, we're going to have to bring you back and dive in just on that because I'm a huge space nerd, and I know there's so many cool stories there. All right, so now we're going to dive into the topic of digital transformation in earnest. Of course, we'll be picking Kevin's brain on the subject, but really centering, you know, what I like to do is when we have these big, meaty, all-encompassing topics like digital transformation it's neat to come across a piece of an article which kind of breaks it down and helps us digest that in you know, bites of the elephant mode. And that's where we stumbled across this article here, Karin, that we kind of enjoyed. A lot of its context and its perspective. Now, just a little bit of before we turn over to Karin and Karin, my apologies, and dive deeper into Kevin's perspective. This was a combination, kind of a variety article, 14 KPIs, and they got the information and the insights from a variety of business leaders that are coming at digital transformation from a variety of perspectives. And then one further note here, this was in Forbes, by the way, and I'm going to share the 14 KPIs, but Murphy's Law is not. There we go. All right. So here is a snapshot. We're not going to walk through all these for the sake of time, but for our audience, these are the 14 KPIs that the article really pointed out, and we're going to kind of use this as a basis for our discussion. So, Karin, let's pass over to you and let's dive into this.
Thanks so much. First of all, I'm a little supply chain starstruck here, and love the opportunity to meet Kevin in person or in virtual person. So it's not often I get to speak with a #1 bestseller, and just appreciate your leadership in this area of digital transformation. So when you look at this list, Kevin, this list of 14 important KPIs, what 2 or 3 stick out to you?
Well, first of all, digital transformation, a successful digital transformation, starts off with actually defining success. Mm-hmm. So having a KPI is a necessary first step. But unfortunately, most companies don't even do that. They don't define their business goals with relevant business metrics. That's the most important takeaway from the list even existing. all of them are really great, but their importance is driven by operational context and the company's competitive environment. So, it'd be impossible for me to pick out one that's the best. So no single metric is perfect for every situation, but I really like operational improvement, the number 7 one, and number 4, the revenue from digital services. I think both of those point towards affecting the business. I mean, whatever you do, you want to improve the business, and you want to move forward with the digital services and products that you can define.
Kevin, you and I are definitely in sync on those. Which ones do you think, if you look at this list, what is the most often underserved or overlooked in the process?
It's funny, but it's customer experience. I think, and I think many organizations, that's a massive mistake. Every organization needs to really focus on being a valued member of their end-to-end business value chain. I see too many companies looking at their belly button and only looking internal, their internal processes, trying to make them good or make them better. Really, it's the customer experience is critical, but in addition, the experience of the company's actual suppliers, because you operate in an ecosystem. So both are crucial to how an organization's value is interpreted by others. And if others don't interpret your value, you will soon go out of business.
Well put. If I could interject for a second, Karin, there's a ton of comments I want to catch us up on. Let's see here. Let's start with Keith Duckworth. Keith says, I want to go to Arizona State University to study aeronautical engineering as a kid. I wanted to be a rocket scientist so bad, and he flew model rockets all the time. I'm stuck on a model rocket build with my son, Ben, and it's my first one. So, Keith, I may steal some expertise from you. Stephanie says one of her favorite toys, of course, were Lincoln Logs. And let's see. Amanda, our CMO, shared that Cabbage Patch dolls were her favorite toy. Of course, Helen, Georgia, synonymous with Cabbage Patch dolls. And Sylvia's got some common kindred spirits as it relates there. Took her daughter to Helen, Georgia, to the Cabbage Patch birthplace. And she was looking at me like, really? She's now a nurse and builds furniture. All right. So also moving over to the article we were referencing, Karin, Kevin, and Jamin. And we were posing that question. Karin posed that question to Kevin about some of the KPIs that were amongst the most important. So Jay, who with Atto Rosin, says, in her view, it is 4, revenue from new digital services, business sustainability, operational improvement, and rate of innovation. So good stuff there. All right, y'all bear with me. The comments are coming in hot and heavy here.
That's good.
Yes, right. Pierre, and hello, Pierre, based here in Atlanta, says it's so much easier to utilize internal metrics versus hard to define, externally driven, but it's critical. So good stuff there. And our friend Sandy Lake, who I know, Karin, I know we're both familiar with our friend Sandy Lake with the Georgia Centers of Innovation for Logistics. Couldn't agree more on customer experience as critical outcomes to digital transformation. Okay, I apologize. I couldn't get everybody's comments. We're going to need some bots and some automation just to help us to get all the comments. But let's keep driving. And I think, Kevin, we want to turn the tables a bit on Karin and Jamin here. So you want to do that with me? Oh,
yeah. I'm listening to Karin.
All right. Karin, Karin, from that list, and I'm going to splash these back on here. What was your key KPI here?
Well, it's interesting because I was exactly in sync with Kevin, which means I'm either reading the same stuff he's reading or we've had very similar experiences. But I love the fact that we need to be focused on outside in. We need to look at what our customers and suppliers experience and what our business is like and how we can improve that entire network of bringing and delivering goods and services to the marketplace. So I'm going to go with that outside in thinking and look at both the internal and external success metrics, and also number 8, the customer experience.
Love it. Love it. I feel like we're playing like
spirits there, Karin.
I feel like we need a Family Feud game board here as we're guessing through all 14 of these. Quick comment from David. David, great to have you here once again. You can check him out in the comments. He's a big part of our live streams here. Always enjoy his perspective. He's got a call out on number 11, and that really resonated with me because I think oftentimes, especially as a lot of business leaders can go to the shiniest object syndrome, you can pass right by the folks that got you here, right? And it's so important to get them bought in and plan for the future with them, right? Instead of doing it to them, there's an old adage there. All right. So Jamin, hey, the tables are still flipped. So what sticks out to you?
Yeah. So for me, it's a combination really of 8 and 11. So the customer experience and the team morale. And there's actually an article, Kevin, that you wrote about your book, Click to Transform. And I love the headline, and it got me thinking this way: get your head out of the cloud, just not your business. and I like that. It actually made me think of, while we are going for digital transformation, and rightfully so, very focused on business process, to not lose sight of the very real people involved. And those real people are both the customer and your team. And I almost view that as one team, right? So just not losing sight of the people and making sure that they're going along this journey with us and not feeling left behind or pulled too much.
Outstanding. Great comments there, Jamin, especially for someone that claims not to know anything about digital transformation. I think you're sandbagging us a little bit. All right. So, hey, to Amanda and Clay, I sent over a link so folks can kind of source that article. I don't know if we can put that in the comments, but that'd be really helpful. Okay. So we're going to keep driving because Jamin mentioned some of the other big news we're going to tackle here today, which is, if I can pull it up, sometimes technology works here, right? Is Kevin's big book. So as Kevin mentioned, we met back at the DMSCA conference, and y'all should check out DMSCA. It's an outstanding organization, Diverse Manufacturing Supply Chain Alliance. Kevin, do you have the URL offhand? Is it dimsca.org?
Yeah, it's dimsca.us, actually, dmsca.us.
So audience, y'all should check that out. So much good stuff there. Had a great time at the conference. But Kevin, look, he's not new to publishing. He's published a variety of books, white papers, he keynotes. He's a well-known thought leader in this space. But he's done it yet again with this Click to Transform digital transformation game plan for your business. And you see those number ones stacking up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different lists. And I bet we probably don't even have the latest one. So, all right. So, Kevin, first off, you got to tell us about the book.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you very much for highlighting it. We just launched this week, and it's doing very well. But, at the very beginning, I guess I saw or see digital transformation as really being all about drawing value from a company's data assets. You've heard the saying that data is the new oil. Well, that's true. And your business processes are how you refine that oil into something that's really useful. And while technology is an essential tool for accomplishing that, real value is created when the business model is designed in a way that extracts value from that data. That's why I really actually focused on new data-driven business models first, and then the role that technology can play in extracting value from business data.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, to my simple ears, absolutely. So when did you drop this book? What, last week? Is that right?
No, this week actually on it's actually only on pre-order right now on Tuesday, and it goes live for actual order on Saturday. So it's
already crushing
right
the charts. Gotta love that.
Well,
congratulations. It's a rocket trajectory right to the top. So
it did.
Very nicely done, Karin. I like that. All right. So before I want to ask another question or two, both of Kevin and Karin. But as he lays out, Karin and Jamin, the kind of the thoughts behind the book, any thoughts come surging to the forefront for either of y'all?
Well, I'll go first since Jamin wanted to go second earlier.
Critics. I love critics.
So I think the timing is fantastic. So I think that there are so many opportunities for digital transformation, for harnessing new data, for leveraging the technology to dig through and find the diamonds in the data, if you will. Are immense in global operations today, and especially in supply chain. So congratulations, Kevin, on writing the book, but getting it out at just the right time when we all need to be reading this and fueling our thought process on how we can drive more innovation in the future as well.
Thanks.
I will piggyback off of that. And Kevin, I was reading some of the comments of those who've read your book and were leaving reviews on Amazon and your article, like I mentioned, and it's taking this from a buzzword. I think we all understand that this digital transformation is something that's important and necessary, but it could be so hard for us sometimes, or just daunting to go from buzzword to actionable steps. And the way you, even hearing in your answer, describing it, break things down into little blocks that we can go to, and then sharing like your example of oil and applying that to data, real life kind of stories, experiences, word pictures that we can understand. It makes it actionable. And I think that's important. Understand that we can do this. We're not alone. There are resources like your book out there and interviews like this, but we just got to start the process block by block.
Well put.
Absolutely. Buzzword bingo doesn't put money in your pocket.
Yes.
I like that.
Nor does it drive real change. And it's good stuff there. All right, let me pull some comments from the audience. We've had a ton of good stuff here. Aaron says, hey, of course, you can't improve what you don't measure. Absolutely. Let's see. Davin says, you will never know if you're succeeding if you do not know where it is you are trying to be. Good stuff there. Jeff, this is such an important point, I think, that one of you were making earlier. Business requirements first, technologies second. Great point. Let's see here. This is, all right, so I don't have access to who this LinkedIn user is, so if y'all could hit me in the comments, it'd be great. A change we're looking for in supply chain management. Like for clearing any shipments, we always need to have original docs couriered by DSV. But now, due to COVID, we found a digital transformation option for doing all time consuming activity quickly, a much needed tech for future, which, part of what that LinkedIn commenter alludes to is also one of the benefits of the USMCA insofar as I understand it. So that should help make transit easier amongst the three countries that are part of that: Mexico, Canada, and the US. And that comes from, let's see here, Savarna. So Savarna, thanks so much for your comments there. All right, a few more folks. Y'all sit tight with me 1 minute. So Aaron also says, definitely all important KPIs to consider. What is most important will definitely vary from organization to organization. Hey, that's a great point. As well as at different times during the transformation. Operational performance may have to suffer early on so that morale can be kept high and ensure the transformation is done smoothly. Excellent. And then Andisa says the combination of external and external success metrics to assist us more on which direction we need to focus on. That would be revenue from new digital. Sorry, that comment might have gotten cut off there. All right. So, as we expected, the topic of digital transformation elicits a ton of response and passion and thoughts and experiences from the audience. So let's keep driving here on the topic. And, I'm a big fan of Cliff Notes. That's how I made it through high school and maybe college, but I don't want to tell them myself. If you had to pick one thing, Kevin, one thing from the book, one thing maybe from your philosophy, it might be probably one and the same, but there's one thing that's one of the most important things for business leaders to know when it comes to driving truly successful and meaningful digital transformation. What would that be?
Well, to be honest, business leaders, above all else, must lead. I mean, in his book, Leading Change, John Carter defined leadership as a set of processes, and you can read that as your business processes that create organizations or adapts them to significantly changing circumstances. So leadership requires setting a vision of what the future should look like. And it aligns the staff, the people with that vision, and it inspires them. And that's most important. It inspires them to make it happen, to make that vision happen despite any obstacles that get in the way. Too many people that are in leadership positions are simply managers that see their job as setting and enforcing policies and rules. I mean, managers make sure the train gets to the station on time. A leader creates a transportation hub through all types of capabilities from any point A to any point B. You have to have the broad vision. Managers cannot lead a digital transformation. You need leaders.
Well said. Thought inspiring. And I love the train analogy. All right. So, Karin, I'm going to go to you here in just a second. I want to read off a couple of comments here. So, Stephanie's bringing it today. Stephanie with Ato Razin. The farther away management is from the customer, the more risk to their business. Excellent point there. Sophia says extracting value, being able to generate insights from data and being able to tell a story with them. Excellent point, Sophia, especially in this day and age. I feel like I beat a dead horse when we say it. We're getting overwhelmed with information or just sheer noise, data noise, right? Picking out the signals and being able to tell a story with those important elements is really important. So good stuff there, Sophia. And she's really good at it, by the way. We love her summaries of live streams and webinars, to say the least. Let's see here. Ferez says, organization must be organized to make value. I fully agree. Demand management is the key. I know, Karin, that we're starting to talk your language when you hear demand management. So with that in mind, what would be one of your most important things business leaders should know when it comes to digital transformation on your end?
Yeah, so I love the distinction, Kevin, on leadership versus management. I think that's critical because part of being a leader means you're going to try some new things and you're going to unleash the expertise in your business as well so that those folks can contribute to solving problems and driving innovation. I think when it comes to this digital transformation, the opportunities that are in front of us today, they're huge. We've got more data than we've ever had before, but we need to understand the signals in that data and what it tells us. And that's where, as Kevin mentioned, the technology, the interpretation and analysis of that data can start to add real value. But we have to be willing to step back and think a little differently and then lean into the initiatives that we are going to pursue and lead the organization through.
Outstanding. And we've got an earlier fan of something you've said earlier, Karin. So Sylvia says, critical point, Karin. Data mining and analytics are still a foreign language in some minds, especially in global logistics. Great point. And Karin, I appreciate your perspective you shared there. So Jay says, data is useless, but the insights are priceless. I like that.
I like that a lot.
Good.
Aaron says, Keith Duckworth, spot on, referring to an earlier comment. If you're trying to answer a question that isn't relevant, you're wasting resources. Absolutely. AA, so Professor Mohib from the air capital of the country, Wichita, Kansas, says, I'm thinking there could be a monitoring or control tower for tracking end-to-end global supply chain of aircraft components from design to build. A 4 or 5 PL may play a very important role. What are your thoughts on such digital transformation, security, and stakeholder confidence? I want to pose that question to Kevin, but before I do, we should reference that Daniel Stanton, Mr. Supply Chain, he was reporting, I believe it was Lockheed. I may get the name wrong, but Lockheed has a number of, they make a lot more things than just aircraft, but they have been trying to assemble their suppliers along these lines to really pull a lot more visibility and security of the end-to-end supply chain and across their global supply chain. So I'm seeing some strides being made in this with regard to AA's point here. But Kevin, what else would you add to that?
Well, data really provides visibility into the supply chain. But one of the big issues is, can you trust that data? And this is where blockchain and distributed ledger technology can really bring a lot of value. If you're not familiar with distributed ledger technology, it provides information or visibility into any type of transaction to the entire ecosystem. Many of us have heard of Bitcoin, and it's built on top of this distributed ledger technology. Well, when you are managing your supply chain, it's actually a series of transactions. So if you can use blockchain to record these transactions, that data enables visibility, and that actually reduces the friction and improves that information that you need for global supply chains and other things that we're really looking forward to. So I really agree with the comment about the aerospace. Parts can be tracked.
Well, and as we all know, not as related to parts, but more systems and processes. Boeing's still has its work cut out for them. Getting was it 757 Max? I might be getting the number wrong.
7 Max.
Yeah, getting back up to not only just operational status, but getting to where consumers trust it, right? So we'll see how that plays out.
But one thing, just last week, the U.S. Air Force announced a brand new fighter jet. It's going to have its first flight in a couple of weeks, and it was completed completely in secret, completely digitally built in less than a year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
And you're referring to the world's superior Air Force, securing the world since 1947. I might add, world-class standard.
Well, whatever.
So Kevin's a graduate. Kevin's a graduate of Annapolis and a very proud U.S. Navy veteran, and we can have that friendly camaraderie there. But if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, that aircraft also came with an E designation, which is the first time the Air Force has done that, and that kind of created a little bit of a stir. So, but regardless, it's amazing how fast we're going. Yeah. I want to read this comment from Felipe. And this is something, we can't dive deep into this, but I think this is an interesting comment. Since data is the new oil, how much more equitable is the world now compared to the years of the There Will Be Blood movie? Now, if y'all remember that probably came out, I don't know, 10 years ago, that There Will Be Blood movie. Have y'all seen it? Have all of y'all seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Very neat. All about the oil industry and the ruthlessness of that industry. And it's really interesting to hear that put in the form of information as, so who knows, There Will Be Blood and Information might be the next movie in 10 or 20 years to come out. So good stuff there.
Yeah. The blood is caused by data hoarding. Only a select few had the information. And, we're just talking about blockchain. That makes the data and information available to all at the same time. that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's yes, that is absolutely what has to happen. We're gonna have to I'm gonna get in trouble, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm going through an insurance issue now where we're finding a little bit of data lack of data transparency, and we'll see how it all plays out. But access to information is so important to consumers, to employees, to leaders, of course, to all of us, and it needs to be equitable. So, good point there, Kevin and Felipe. All right, so a couple comments, and then we're gonna kind of wind down our outstanding time here with Kevin. So Clay says, lots of talk about tech, but the initiative has to be injected into your culture as well. Excellent point. Our resident bulldog, the dog, quarterback behind the scenes. Thanks for that, Clay. Jay says, business case for digital transformation initiatives should improve one of these areas. 1, business growth. 2, cost optimization. And 3, business agility. Excellent point. At least one, right? Excellent point there, Jay. Gary Smith is here with us here again. Karin, I know you're familiar with Gary Smith. He's an Apex legend, supply chain guru. Great to have you here, tuned in from New York. And Sylvia says, great analogy. Managers get the train into the station. Leaders create a transportation hub. So at least one other like that train analogy there, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay. So before we, I wish we could be gritty and make this a 3-hour episode with Kevin and Karin and Jamin, but Tom is here. Before we sign off with Kevin, Karin, and Jamin, I'd love for you to share just what's your favorite item or thought that Kevin has shared with us here today. And Jamin, I'm going to start with Karin.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
So I love the analogy of data as the new oil. Because I think that really connects with people. And it shows that in order to run the engine, we've got to have that fuel for the engine, and that's the data. Now, we still have the opportunity to improve the engine, and I think Kevin shared some ideas there. But we're never going to get there if we don't get started. So that journey of transformation has got to get underway. And don't hinder yourself by kind of boxing your goals in. Think big, think transformation, and really start to harness that data. And buy Kevin's book. I'm looking forward to
yes, please.
get that on the list.
Thanks for the plug. Checks in the mail there, Karin.
There you go.
Think big. I love that, Karin. Think big. Now's the time. All right. So, Jamin, your thoughts.
Yeah, I really like what Kevin pointed out about having your own set of KPIs, your own strategy and plan for very specific to your business and your teams. Digital transformation for company A most likely will be different, look different than it is for company B. So it's important to really have that self-analysis and that plan very specific to your business to most successfully make that transition and have it be as transformational as possible, and not just accidentally shoehorning the same old processes and trying to make it look pretty by saying it's digital now.
Yeah. Good stuff there, Jamin. Stephanie liked Kevin's thoughts that an organization cannot have a transformation journey without goals set. I do too, Stephanie. Good stuff there. Pierre says not just improve the engine, but also have the map on where it's going, which kind of echoes Kevin's and Stephanie's point. Back to leadership. What is old is new again, huh? You know, my favorite part, one of my favorite parts, or so much here, I think I've got 20 pages of notes, is access to information and equitable. But more importantly, I'll take it a step further, because in this remote society we live in, and you know, different parts of the world are different places when it comes to the pandemic and where they are. But what's inarguable is so many kids are at home, at a necessity oftentimes, and our 3 kids are at home remote learning. And it's really called to my attention the lack of access to technology. Our church is involved in trying to disseminate some computers and laptops and stuff to families in need. You know, we've got to do some work. We've got to do a lot of work about that and address that, not just here in the States, but globally, because, you know, if you can't access information, it's kind of hard to be in tune with the information age and actually find all the opportunities that are out there. So that really, so I appreciate you making that point, Kevin, and letting me to expound on that just a smidge. Okay. So Kevin, really enjoyed your time. Really appreciate your thoughts. A highlight of things to come, perhaps, is we're looking forward to collaborating more with you in the weeks and months ahead, more squarely focused on digital transformation and sharing your thought leadership and more conversations like this. I'm sure we'll get Karin involved fully in that, but sharing that more with our audience. We're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. One quick plug, and again, we've got no financial connection to Click to Transform, but we're big believers in the author. Really have enjoyed learning from him throughout the course of the year here. So Click to Transform. I'm sure you can find it at Amazon, probably a whole host of places. And, Kevin, to make it really easy for our audience, we've included your LinkedIn profile in the show notes so folks can connect with you there.
Great. Thank you. I'm all over social media, and, I try to respond quickly. So reach out. Absolutely.
So hopefully, audience, you enjoyed it as much as we did. I want to say goodbye just for now to Kevin L. Jackson, COO at Source Connect and author of a #1 ranked across a variety of categories, Amazon bestseller, Click to Transform, and it was just released this week. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Wow, man. Karin and Jamin, I felt that despite all the conversation we had, we're not even barely scratching the surface.
I know. I agree. I can't wait till it comes back. I want to talk rockets and transformation all over again.
I totally agree. And the way that he, talks about a complex subject and, delivers little illustrations and stories with it just makes it so fascinating. A topic that sometimes can be dry if we're not careful. When we're talking with Kevin about it, we don't have to worry about that.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with both of you. And the being able to communicate and with an ability to paint those visual images is such a talent. And I think Kevin does that really well. So at least to me, I can see a lot of what he's saying. Big thanks to Sophia, who dropped, of course, right on time. She dropped a link to the book in the comments. So thanks so much for that, Sophia. And thanks to all the comments. I know we couldn't get to all of them. We'll try to reference a few more before we call it a day here. But we want to turn the page now because we're as excited as we were to have Kevin be a part of the show here. We're really excited about a couple of our newest projects. And Jamin, I want to put you on the spot a bit. And I want you to tell us, if you would, about one of our newest series, Logistics and Beyond.
Absolutely. So this series gets really kind of behind the job titles of some of the best in the industry of logistics and transportation and gives us a peek into how they think, their mindset, how they got to where they are, and some real actionable things that we can steal or copy from these folks that are really leaders in logistics and transportation and showing us the way. And I'm excited for the next episode, very specifically coming out Saturday, where our guest is Ryan Schreiber. In this episode will be called The Power of Authenticity. And Ryan's great. He describes his superpower, and no one's arguing with him on this, as being a connector. And when it comes to logistics and transportation, I'm not sure anyone knows more people, but what he's great at, he doesn't hoard his network. He is a connector, true to his word, and really brings a lot of people together. So I'm real excited for people to get to maybe meet him or know about him on a different level and hear him talk about how attributing a lot of his success to his wife and the teamwork he and his wife have, and how he developed a growth mindset when that wasn't natural to him, and so much more. Ryan is fantastic, and I'm pumped for everyone to get to learn from him.
Agreed. We are too. I caught the snippet you published of the interview, I don't know, a week or so ago. Really enjoyed that. And, again, Jamin, I know that you don't tout your interview abilities as much as you should. I think you're a natural, curious mind, and it plays right over into your interview style. And it's like comfort food. So I really appreciate that and admire it, and look forward to this next episode we'll be publishing on Saturday. And that's
Thank
it.
you.
You bet. And if you think that we've used up all of our good news, we've got more. So just wait. There's more. So Karin, this has been a neat project in the works for quite some time. Tek Tok. Yes, I think I said that right. Tek Tok, powered by the team here at Supply Chain Now, with one of the leaders to know, the 2020 Supply Chain Pro to know in industry, Karin Bursa. So please tell us more about this.
Oh, Scott, I'm so excited that we're finally launching Tek Tok, and it's going to focus on the digital supply chain. So introducing this to the audience on the heels of our conversation with Kevin is just ideal, because we'll talk about digital transformation in the area of supply chain. We'll try to turn down the noise and help our audience focus on the technology that can drive transformational change and bring that digital supply chain and physical supply chain together to change the way we do business and drive some tangible results. So I'm really excited. We'll get some industry leaders that have put it into practice to kind of weigh in and share their thoughts and ideas as well. And of course, we're counting on the Supply Chain Now audience, all of these great listeners, to contribute their ideas and their success as well.
I'll tell you, if there's ever a surer bet, I don't know of one, because the audience brings it every single time, and it's the best part of all this. As much as we love working with the team here and have all the fun on the live streams and podcasts, the audience and what they bring to the table is the North Star and will continue to be. So they're not going to let you down, Karin. I promise you. Hey, I want to point out Jenny Froome says good vibes. Jenny, again, is doing great work. Jenny, I know y'all have got a big event coming up in November that's going to be virtual. I'd love for you to share that in the comments if you'd like. I hope we can find a way to collaborate with you on that as you continue to spread best practices across global supply chain, especially in Africa. All right. So along those lines, great segue here, right? We're going to hit a couple of events that we are involved in, and we'd love for our audience to find a way to get involved in. First up is the Association for Manufacturing Excellence. Karin and Jamin, have y'all ever been out to an AME event?
I have. It should be interesting to see how this comes into the virtual world, because I'm sure there'll be, even in the virtual world, there's going to be some great takeaways.
Agreed.
I've not had the privilege, so I'm very excited. Really looking forward to this.
Really neat event, and we've got their annual events coming up. It was set to be hosted in Toronto. Of course, it's gone virtual now, but it's still a great event. Great speakers. Greg and I are going to be leading this breakout session on the Supply Chain Forum, which includes Kimberly Humphrey, the CEO of AME. One of the, as much fun as we all had with virtual events, I'm really going to miss the plant tours. That's one of my favorite parts of this event, and just in general. Karin, you and I were talking about that the other day. But nevertheless, the speaker is going to be a home run. The interaction should be really interactive virtual events. So y'all check that out. We've got that link in the show notes. Supply Chain USA Virtual 2020. Now, I know Karin and Jamin, y'all are familiar with at least a couple of names here.
Indeed.
Yep, heavy hitters.
You bet. And Sandra McQuillan is certainly one of our favorites. She's been a repeat guest here on Supply Chain Now, always an enlightened and informed and intriguing perspective she brings. That's just one of the keynotes they have there. And the cool thing is, this is going to be, you have the opportunity to get a free taster pass, I think is what they call it. So you can take in all 6 keynotes at no charge, which I admire that the organizations do that, especially in the year that 2020 is. The link to that is also in the show notes. And finally, all right, so Karin and Jamin, visually put in your mind in one big pickup truck everything you know about retail. All right, is it there?
All right. Got it.
Truck. Yes,
massive truck. Now dump all that out the window. Dump it into the city dump, because the landscape has changed. Now, yes, I'm exaggerating a good bit, but still a lot of the retail landscape has changed dramatically, right? We were using an analogy in a prep conversation earlier this week is as if we're playing chutes and ladders coming into the year, and then all of a sudden they take those rules away and give us the rules to Monopoly. And of course, the game has changed, right? And some organizations, as we all know, have been on the forefront of that change and making it happen and succeeding this year's both digital environment and, frankly, brick and mortar, believe it or not. Others have struggled mightily. There's retail dives keeping, unfortunately, a long list of bankruptcies in retail. But nevertheless, we have an opportunity in this webinar, September 30th, new market, new mindset, with not only GreyOrange, who of course is powering and automating a lot of the success and growth in e-commerce, but Cindy Lago, who leads supply chain consulting here in the U.S. for Capgemini. Front lines, talk about digital transformation. That's a lot of the things that are helping organizations do. So we're going to cross-pollinate their perspective in this retail-focused webinar on September 30th. See, I'm still in that pickup truck, driving down the road with everything I know about retail, which isn't much. For Karin, it might be a convoy. For me, it'd be a Volkswagen Bug. I don't know. All right. So, of course, for our audience, visit our website or shoot Amanda an email if there's something you cannot find that we talked about here today. We try to do a good job of loading everything in the show notes, so everything is just one click away. All right. So Karin and Jamin, we knew this was going to be the wild, wild west today as we were featuring a thought leader like Kevin L. Jackson. Of course, Karin's immense knowledge in the area. Jamin, you got more chops than I do in this area. And we're going to have fun doing it. And then, of course, the audience always delivers. With what Kevin shared, with what we've talked about, what the audience shared here today, what's one of the things that when we wrap up the broadcast and maybe move on and grabbing a bite to eat for lunch, what's one thing that's going to be stuck in your mind? And Karin, let's start with you.
Okay. So stuck in my mind on this is that the old adage that there's ever changing change, right? So you've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep thinking differently. And I think the theme of transformation and how do we take what we're learning through this global crisis and apply it to be better business, better supply chain team members, and to run it differently, more efficiently, replace risky inventory with valuable insights that can come from that digital transformation in the mix. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, and supply chain's the place to be.
I like that.
I love that's great.
All right. So Jamin, what's your thought here?
I really like that. Supply chain's the place to be. I've been saying supply chain sexy, but that's a much classier version than mine. I really have been encouraged as I, was researching Kevin and his book, and then hearing Kevin talk to us, and then hearing about Karin's Tek Talk podcast, and hearing her talk with Kevin. The digital transformation for folks that aren't maybe naturally of that mindset and need to really go through this transformation, it can be scary if we're being empathetic. But the information and the folks that speak our language, if you will, they're out there. And I think we got to peek into it with Kevin and how his book set up, and hearing Karin talk with Kevin and what will be in the Tek Talk series. I'm personally excited about, because it makes digital transformation. We're at a spot now where it's approachable, and we can do this. And there are those out there that will help us take those steps, and no matter how small they are at first, to move forward and just take that action. So that was really encouraging and neat for me to see. Excellent point,
Both of y'all. In particular, Jamin, if things aren't approachable these days, they don't get solved. We don't make progress. And the gaps will remain, and you leave the art of the possible sitting there dangling in the wind. And we've got to make things approachable for folks that, for non-technologists like me to be able to navigate through a conversation like this and really understand what the points that Karin and Jamin and Kevin are making. I mean, we need the industry to do that as well, right?
Absolutely.
If not for any other reason, to keep bringing in the top talent, because as Karin says, supply chain is the place to be. So love love what both of y'all have shared. I really have enjoyed winding our way through this conversation. I hate that we only got probably about 37% of the comments, but the cool thing is I love seeing the kind of the conversations amongst the conversations in the comments. That's one neat thing I love to go back and kind of look through. So, all right. Well, I think my 27-point checklist, which rivals my local car dealership, I think all that's checked off. So, Karin, Jamin, thanks so much to both of y'all. We're really excited about the series you've launched. We'll be launching. We should do a tip of the hat to one of our own, Clay Phillips, who was promoted to marketing manager here at Supply Chain Now. So congrats. Really have appreciated all of his hard, smart, meaningful, impactful contributions to here our team here at Supply Chain Now. So kudos to you, Clay.
Go Dogs.
There you go, Clay.
I can't quite bring myself to say that. Can't quite. But you know what? It's so rewarding to work with great, smart, savvy, innovative people. And that's a big part of our journey here. So big thanks to our audience. You always bringing it. Love what you shared here today. Keep it coming. We look forward to seeing y'all Monday on the Buzz. And, again, we're going to wrap this down, wind this down on the same challenge that we look inward and challenge ourselves on. That's do good, give forward, but be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.